Stacked full of history is Barbados, which the British took over in the early 1600s. And a guy who's very happy about that is a guy whose family originates from our part of the world in the UK, and his name is Adrian Loveridge, and he's here from Rediscover the Caribbean. And behind us is the wonderful setting of George Washington House, which we'll get to in a moment. But why are you thankful that the British actually took over Barbados in the 1600s, Adrian?
Well, a lot of my relatives actually fought on the side of Monmouth against imposing a Catholic king on the British throne, and we were given three choices when we were rounded up. We were either tarred and feathered, burnt at the stake, hung by Judge Jeffreys, or dispatched to Barbados as indentured servants. So my family first came here in 1685. Fortunately, 5 years after we came here, we were freed, and then we went on to settle parts of what's now the United States of America.
Well, I think the right option was taken there, you know.
Absolutely.
Otherwise you might not be here today with us.
No,
but,
certainly not in these conditions.
Now, this fantastic house, a lot of history involved. George Washington, you know, one of the main politicians in history, was here and had never ventured out of a small hamlet in America that he lived before. What was the reason he actually came to Barbados originally?
He came here basically because of his half-brother Lawrence's health. Lawrence was 32, George was 19 at the time, and Lawrence was suffering from tuberculosis, and it was recommended that he came to a much healthier climate. Barbados actually has one of the best climates in the world, and when he sailed into our capital, Bridgetown, it was in fact the largest city he'd ever seen in his life.
But then George suffered smallpox when he was here as well.
Yes, he contracted smallpox, which wasn't at all unusual. We had a troop detachment of up to 20,000 troops, and probably 1 in 5 suffered from some tropical disease or not. The advantage for George was that it was much cheaper to get a soldier better than it was to replace him, and therefore we treated him. He successfully recovered. He retained the pockmarks to his death, and of course sadly it made him sterile. He wasn't able to father children, but what it taught him was that when he became a general and fought in the American Revolutionary War, that when his troops were contracting smallpox, he had them inoculated from serum brought from here in Barbados, and almost certainly that gave him a military advantage over the opposite side, who were simply dying on their horses.
It was really a life-changing visit and a history-making visit, really, for the world, wasn't it?
Very much so. He learned a lot about our system of politics here. Of course, we have one of the oldest parliaments in the Commonwealth of Nations. All this was very relevant to what later becoming a military general, and then, of course, America's first president.
Do, if you can, have a day out here at George Washington House. Meantime, thank you very much for your time, Adrian, and opening the house especially for us today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks for your visit.